Right. This video has to do with how the truly sick-minded in the society invert reality. Your religion and other sick-minded institutions. So we talk about aspects of the medical industry, pharmaceutical industry, right? And we're talking about how these is actually not the fault of people on the ground because they're not knowledgeable of it, but at the top level, how these institutions invert reality, right? To fleck up your mind and then to profit off of you and wipe you off the planet before you're actually supposed to be wiped off of the planet or dead, right? So all I was talking about in my last video, how what they really do, right, is get you sick, make you pay them, and then you die, right? That's how the cycle goes. Western medical pharmaceutical industries. That's the philosophy really that they just live by. Hey, and they want to tell you, oh well, their purpose is to try and save lives. It's not, right? They actually exist to take lives, right? The Western medical institution exists to take lives, right? Not to save life, right? So to get you sick, right? Get you physically sick, make you pay for your physical illness financially, and then wipe you off the planet soon as you pay, right? So the finances now that is really supposed to be going to your children, right? The finances are supposed to be going to your children or going to donations, right? Or going to assisting the poor, right? You are being made to pay that money to huge profitable Western financial organizations or offshoots of that, right? And then they wipe you all, you and me, off the planet without a trace, right? So it's like a big conspiracy. It's not conspiracy theory, it's actually reality. Think about it, it's actually reality, right? That's how reality does work. Make no mistake about it. That's how, so if you were supposed to live to 100 years, your lifespan get cut short now to 60 years, 50 years, 60 years, right? Because before you are supposed to die, leave the planet, right? They get you sick, right? And they use methodologies to get you sick, right? And then they come in and say, well, you need to pay us for you being sick. You need to pay us for we getting you sick, right? And then you pay them and then you die, right? And that's how the cycle goes, right? Um, but God is really intervening to pause to them kind of situation and say, hey, well, you all profited enough, right? It's time for you all to give back now, right? You're self-absorbed in your knowledge, one, meaning you're spending all the time in institution, then you're spending all the time to get profit off of that now, right? Meaning that you're living in your own world, right? You're living in your own world, not concerned about others, right? It's time for you to, right? You to give back some or in the form of, hey, if somebody come to you, right, as a patient, right, you could flex on that. You could flex on your price. You could flex on your cost. You don't have to charge the amount you normally charge, right? That's how you could donate that. That's how you could give back, right? That's how you could give back, right? To society, to patients, all these things, right? Um, so anyhow, this is another topic now. Remember, I was saying I wouldn't want to really go and see a medical doctor or a psychologist, psychiatrist, if it is that they we have a spiritual conversation before, right? Now, this is not me seeing myself as more knowledgeable because I don't have medical knowledge. I don't have knowledge in medicine. I don't have medical knowledge. So I can't be saying this from a narcissistic point of view, right? I can't be saying this from a narcissistic point of view because I don't know. I don't have your knowledge. So I acknowledge that, hey, you have information that I do have. I acknowledge that you hold knowledge that I do have. Because I did psychology, I didn't do medical sciences, right? But what I'm saying is that any information without a moral code or knowledge on God, right? Any knowledge without you adhering to a moral code, right, is automatically a you'll be unable to assist me in any real way. You could assist in part for something, but you can't assist me in a holistic way, right? Because if I am already aligning with knowledge, right, that's helping me to be at my highest moral potential, right? If I am a person who is aligning with knowledge, right, that's helping me to be at my highest moral potential, right? Then if I go to you and seek assistance from you, you might end up hurting me instead of healing me, right? You might end up hurting me instead of healing me, and that's why it is refrain from these things. That's why I don't really like to go to doctors because in order to be in those professions, you are supposed to be aligned into a code, a particular code in morality, right? Given by the creator, right? You're supposed to be in line with that because you are supposed to be a vessel of healing, right? You are supposed to be a vessel of healing, right? If you're in a medical institution, right? If you are in that industry, right? If you are in that, not industry, I should say, if you are in that field of study, field of work, right? You are in that field of work, right? If you are in that field of work, right? You choose that field of work, then you choose a field of work, right? In which you are supposed to be adherent to the highest moral code in the universe. Hear what I'm saying correctly. You choose a medical field, meaning you choose a field wherein you're supposed to be helping people to heal, right? This is how healing has happened. You choose a profession where you are supposed to be helping people to heal, right? But you end up hurting them by virtue of not being aligned, right, to the highest moral code. Because you cannot help people, you can't assist people, right, to heal. And that's why most people, when they go to see doctors, you end up dying. It are no ways you end up dying. It are no two ways about it. You end up, they can't fix your brain, right? Your brain can't be fixed by these people because they are not aligned, right, with the highest moral code that will assist themselves to help you, right? I hope people can understand what I'm saying, right? If I study medicine, right? If I study medicine, right, then I should be aligning myself to the highest form of healing, right? I should align myself to the highest form of healing that would enable me to be a vessel that could help to heal you. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So I supposed to be watching as a doctor, I supposed to be watching the kind of things I consume, right? And this is what I had a tremendous problem when I went to England. Right? When I went to England and I went to them hospitals and things. And every man jack, every doctor, nurse, everybody stopping out every 2 minutes and is smoking. Right? How is that so? How? You all existing to take lives, not to heal people. You're existing to take lives, not to heal minds, not to heal bodies. Right? And the same thing goes for things like vegetarianism, right? Same thing goes for things like alcohol consumption. Once you enter that field, right, you need to align to the highest moral code. You need to abstain, refrain, right, from certain food, certain drinks, right? You have to align to the highest form of spiritual healing, right, in order to be of true benefit to the people who you're claiming you're trying to help, right? You can't be claiming you're trying to help people and it's still aligned, right, with eating where you want, drinking where you want from a moral and physical standpoint, right? So that's how I got just you had to adjust from the perspective of the doctors. You choose to study that field of study or going onward, you choose to get involved in that field of study, you need to align with a moral code, right? Else the field of study is not for you. Else that field of study is not for you. You're existing in a field that's going to cause more harm than good. And we see it. It's not that we didn't see it play out. People call me dirt and people force just said, right? You call me dirt for saying that. But hey, you see it play out. What was COVID? You actually see that play out. You see it play out just the other day, a couple years ago. You see it playing out in front of all your faces. Right? Is seeing this as an everyday flipping event. So it's like people is just seeing something and then just pretend not to see it, you know. You're seeing something in front of your eye, but you just be pretending you're seeing it. God be showing you something in front of your eye, but you pretending you are seeing it. Right? I stand exactly by what I see, right? In order to truly belong to a medical field of study, right, you need to bring yourself in harmony and alignment with that which is at the highest code, right, of moral and spiritual development for yourself. Otherwise, you is just a bridge between life and death for people. You're not healing, right? You're not helping, right? You are a bridge between life and death. So you actually assisting to take people lives, not to make people better, right? You're existing to take people lives, not to make people better, right? So that's my take, right, on that thing. So if I go now to a doctor, right, and you eating meat, right, and I know 25 years now as vegetarian, and I align myself to the highest moral dietary code since I was 11, right? I align myself to the highest moral dietary code and stick with that since I was 11, except for one or two little times, right? Then what? Then how you could? Then how I could go to you to get my healing? How I could be helped by you, right? So understand this. It's hard for me to be helped by you, right? It's hard for you to help me because I already aligned myself with the highest moral dietary code, right? And that is not coming from me. That's coming from the creator. I am to implement that code. I am say this right and wrong. Right? So this was in once you existed in these professions, you are the ones who will be setting the guidelines, right? You are the ones who will be setting the example, right? For how you could actually extend your life by doing the right thing, right? You could actually, hey, you by nature of aligning with the creator's code, law, right? Say, hey, you will tell your patients, hey, by aligning with this form of morality, right? You could actually give yourself 2 3 more years to live, right? Without my intervention, without doctor intervention, right? So in fact, so you help a person or become their own doctor, right? You help a person, you help your patient to heal themselves, right? To heal this, right? To heal this, right? So you as a doctor need to heal this before you can heal anybody else, right? You as a doctor, a medical doctor, need to heal your mind, right, before you could heal anybody else, right? Because this thing about meat eating and so on, right? It actually premise and people is trying to say, oh, the people is watch vegetarians and say, hey, them had a humble we because we see in ourselves as superior. We not. To be a vegetarian, right? You had to humble yourself. You had to be humble already. You're already humble. Once you're not eating meat, you're already recognizing that, hey, these chickens, these cows, these animals is not for me to murder, right? So you're already humble. You're already seeing them as forms of creation, like existing as for your companionship, right? Not to murder, right? Not to murder, not to kill and murder and eat, right? But companionship. Hey, your animal, just like our dog is your pet. Hey, you have a cow in the back, right? It will give you some milk now and then, whatever, right? But it's companionship at the end of the day, right? So doctors need to realize that in order for it to help anybody and to help me, right, you had to fix here, right? You had to fix your mind, right? Because you're eating death, right? You're eating death on your plate, and then you want to come and say, oh, you existing to give me life. You are consuming death every day as part of your dietary consumption, and then you want to come and say your purpose is to try and save me. You can't. You can't. Right? So it's a conversation, right? You can't. You existed to take my life. If it is you are consuming death, then your role in life is to take my life, not to give me life, not to extend my life for a couple years, nothing like that, right? So then admit to that role. Like nothing is wrong with this what you're doing, enough, but you have to admit this is what you're doing. You have to admit that something wrong up here, right? Because you're contradicting yourself, right? So come out of your profession. So you have choices, right? You had to, if that is what you're doing, you had to admit that to yourself and say, hey, something not wrong in my mind. I am disharmonious and I need to come out of the medical profession, right? Because I not really existed in there to heal people or to save people. I existed in there to take people life, right? So you have a choice now, right? It's either you admit to yourself that you existed to take people life or you come out of the profession, right? And that's just the reality of it, that people don't want to hear. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that you have two contradictory thoughts and you need to come to a resolution. You don't want to hear that, right? Because that means you had to change, and you don't ever want to change, and I don't ever, and nobody don't ever want to change, right? So that's what this thing is about, right? And it all goes back to the Quran too. I would never, like, once I come in contact with this book, I would never make a video, right, and leave Allah out of it, right? I would never talk about spiritual knowledge and helping people and helping the mind and helping your body, right, and helping your soul, and leave Allah out of the picture, right? So you realize every video I make, I keep drawing back on Allah or the Quran, right? Because that the knowledge I come in contact with that helping me to make these videos, right? That's the knowledge, right? It was Islam knowledge, right? Which is the Quran, right? I didn't delve into any Islam knowledge beyond that, right? Because I just say, hey, well, the book is really, that book is really all that is necessary. Other things are add-ons, bonus knowledge, whatever, right? Or if you want to continue seeking knowledge in that vein, right? But like once you come in contact with the book, you realize, hey, the book have the message, right? And nothing actually is excluded from the book, right? Nothing is excluded. The book is actually a doctor in itself, in and of itself, right? In and of itself, the book is a doctor, right? The book is a psychologist, right? In and of itself, right? So people need to realize that, right? And you are, once you are a doctor, you are a leader, right? A doctor is a leader, right? A medical doctor is a leader, right? So once you are a leader now, and this is where it comes to what we used to mention the other day about divine governance, right? Divine governance, right? Once you are a leader, right? You supposed to align yourself with the highest spiritual conduct, right? The highest spiritual conduct in society, right? Because you in that leadership position as a doctor, I is only a lay person in society, right? I could only advise you or give you suggestions based on my feelings, right? Based on how I feel and based on what I experience, right? I could give you a, because this is what all you're supposed to be doing, right? Taking advice or taking suggestions from the people who's supposed to be all your patients, clients, people on the ground. So that's me, right? So I can only tell you how all you can make all your journey as a medical doctor better for your patients and for you, right? Better for your patients and for you. So it's not that I don't believe in medical doctors. It's not that I denounce and all that. It's not that I don't believe in all that. I just saying that, hey, there's a specific requirements that I need to meet in order to call yourself that title, right? To call yourself a doctor, I don't mean all you had to do is spend 10 years in a university studying and you do nothing to change your personal behavior, right? To be a nurse, all them thing, right? You had to align yourself, right, with the highest spiritual conduct and create a assigned conduct, right? To be a fruitful employee in the arena, right? Right, good.